Morning.
Morning.
Morning. And it looks like we've got a relatively full house, Manolis, for your, what I hope to be a remarkable session on crowdfunding. So you'll find there was an enormous amount of interest expressed in this subject area for a variety of reasons. We've had a couple of folks who have had some experiences, although I don't see Mark Smith in the audience this morning. There are others of us who look at the differences between crowdfunding that are, I'm going to call it product related, pre-orders that are kicked off at the point at which the funding level is reached, or those that are really equity based, which is today just a huge mare's nest based upon the nature of the SEC. So I know, because I've had a chance to look at Malonos's deck, the kinds of information that we're going to be exposed to this morning, and so I'm as excited as everyone else, right, to be able to dive into the subject area. Everybody's got their coffee and their hot chocolate?
Some has been shared.
Not anymore, huh?
Yeah, I could give you a minute to go get a refill. You're good, okay.
I lost my chance today, I guess.
That's all right. We'll quickly go around the room and just introduce yourself so that Manolis knows who are the faces and spaces and places that you're pitching to, and then the floor will be yours. And we will proceed with one announcement. Robin, can you give a quick?
Sure, we're doing an innovation connection, just social networking, and a panel discussion next Thursday at Avery Point. It's about advanced manufacturing and technology partnering in the tech park. We're doing it with Southern Connecticut State University. So come on down. It'll be a lot of fun.
Okay. And in no particular order, Moon, we'll start with you.
Moon Choi from the University of Connecticut.
Robin Benedman, University of Connecticut.
Kevin Bully from NIRAC.
Morad Bahandish from University of Connecticut School of Engineering.
I'm Carl Dick. I develop web-based sales systems.
Mark and Summer, AgriFuels.
John Devine from FireEye.
Joe Weir, DBMI.
And scooting around to Chris.
Hi, Christopher Lebeck, UConn.
Mickey Warnes, U.S. Energy.
David Bloom, Enzyme Systems.
Matt Kucha, MSH1.
Andrew Slavey, Community Sports.
Paige Rassid, CT Tech Council.
John Elliott, School of Business, UConn.
Lane Watson, David.
Danny?
Danny Breer, local entrepreneur.
Eric Knight, Markle Technologies, and I have the distinct pleasure of working with Manolis as one of my collection of wonderful entrepreneurs in my program.
Gary Jalbert, I'm a consultant to the consumer packaged goods industry, primarily on the food side of things.
Doug Roth, Connecticut Innovations.
Sam Adlerstein, I'm here with two hats. One is I'm a business coach with Pine Hill Associates, and two, I chair the Board of Ed in Tallinn. So a community perspective from two different angles.
Glad you could make it, Sam.
Thank you.
Rippy Singh, Plus4Pi, Productivity and Innovation Consulting.
Manolis Finarlakis, founder of Reality Crowd TV and UConn grad.
By all means.
Okay. Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining us today. My main purpose today is to kind of educate you all on crowdfunding and the opportunities that are out there, and then to tell you a little bit about Reality Crowd TV Media Corporation, which is my play into how I'm entering the crowdfunding industry. So the mission of our company is to inform, educate, inspire, and motivate entrepreneurs worldwide to start small businesses through crowdfunding and to provide them with a blueprint on how to crowdfund. So we are here in the early stages of this industry, really bringing it to the crowd. Crowdfunding, you have the funding side of the business, then you have the crowd side of the business. Funding portals like Kickstarter.com, the only way to compete in that side of the business is you have to have millions of dollars in marketing budget. So I'm working on bringing the crowd to crowdfunding, and that's a much easier way to get into the industry. So just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I graduated from UConn with an accounting degree. Started my career out at Deloitte & Touche out of Stanford. Fostered an interest in real estate, so I left Deloitte, went to a smaller firm, did real estate part-time. Left the smaller firm, did property management in the real estate for about a year and a half. Rented out 75 apartments during that time. Deloitte took me back a second time in 2011. Stayed for only 11 months because my family's restaurant business was failing, so I left Deloitte a second time, went back to the family restaurant. They shut down in November, I came in December. 7 months later, we sold it for $150,000. Still lost $150,000 on the deal, but I turned it around in 7 months from zero revenue back back to sale position. The Hartford Insurance Company then took me on. I was operational auditor for the Hartford Insurance Company, property and casualty division. And then on the fateful day on October 23rd, 2013, that's when the SEC press release came out for Title III equity crowdfunding. And I'm going to explain that more in a few minutes, but essentially the 2012 Jobs Act released provisions that allow for, instead of a donation in exchange for reward, a contribution in exchange for a purchase of a private company's shares or loaning that company money and earning interest on that loan. I'm a member of the industry. Essentially, the Crowdfunding Intermediary Regulatory Advocates, they're a sponsorship-only organization. So from a no-name in October 2013, 8 months later, I've been sponsored to join this organization. It's where all the funding portals are. It's where all the attorneys are who know this world inside and out. So anyone you need to be connected to, I can connect you to those people. And so this young lady can explain what crowdfunding is better than anyone, but really crowdfunding is converting social capital into actual capital through the internet. And I'm actually just going to play this short video because she says it best. Oops. I might have to go to the internet here.
She says it quickly and silently.
Absolutely.
I did see you play Martin.
It didn't work for some reason. You know what? Let's just move on. But what essentially crowdfunding is, and the first two sentences that she actually says is, take the concept of passing around the basket at church, where you have a crowd of people who contribute to an individual with a need. Apply that to things other than donations and charities. Put that online. You could fund businesses, tech companies, art, music, and film. One of the simplest examples I can give you guys is, let's say you're an artist and you want to record a professional CD. So you need $5,000 to go to a studio to record this CD. You would put your project online, create a profile, and in exchange for a donation, you must offer that individual a reward. So what's happening in this particular side of the industry is, let's say for a $25 donation, the artist will say, I will give you a finished copy of my CD that I will record professionally once I receive the $5,000. So you're pre-selling a product or a service and promising the reward down the road. It's an amazing thing for startups. If you have a prototype, you can just go to Kickstarter with a prototype and then promise 6 months down the road that you will deliver on that prototype after you get the money to raise for the manufacturing costs. So it's really, it's changing the game in how startups raise capital. This is a great infographic. Crowdfunding in 2009 globally was $1 billion a year. Flash forward to 2013, $5 billion a year globally in 1 year. That's a nice hockey stick growth, right? From 1 billion to 5 billion. The World Bank in 2013 in November released a report that in 20 years, they estimate crowdfunding globally will be a $90 billion a year industry. UC Berkeley College has one of the only crowdfunding entrepreneurial centers that is part of the school. And I would love to talk to you about UConn, because if you guys jump on the crowdfunding education side of things, you guys are going to be innovative. I mean, you're already innovative, but I think you should look into that. You know, UC Berkeley College, they said the U.S. equity crowdfunding market size, and this isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take years to happen. But U.S. equity crowdfunding market size could potentially be $300 billion in the U.S. alone. This is disrupting capital markets and traditional finance organizations. I've been speaking with Fortune 50 companies who commission reports to say, let's look at what the risks and benefits are of crowdfunding to the capital markets. I can't mention the name because it's confidential, but I spoke to a Fortune 50 company about this. So, in every crowdfunding campaign, you should plan at least 3 to 6 months in advance before you ever launch the fundraise button. What's happening, unfortunately, right now in crowdfunding is it's starting to become a buzzword. People hear about it. The first thing they do when they hear about it is, great idea one day, a week later they're launching a crowdfunding campaign. And they're wondering why the internet angels are not coming down to save them. The point is, in order to execute an appropriate crowdfunding campaign, you have to go through what I call the 9 stages of crowdfunding. How do I know what these 9 stages of crowdfunding are? Well, I've had to go through them myself, because what I'm going to share with you in a little bit is, you know, Reality Crowd TV is actually a reality television program about the crowdfunding movement, similar to the Shark Tank without the bite. So instead of a panel of sharks criticizing someone's idea, we have a panel of mentors in an angel environment nurturing these entrepreneurs through the 9 stages of crowdfunding. So we're going to launch our own Indiegogo campaign in about 1 to 3 months. We've been planning for 8 months, building our crowd. But every company, whether you're crowdfunding or whether you're just going through business in general, should go through these 9 stages, which is your business plan, securing your intellectual property, building your social media, coming up with a public relations strategy, coming up with a campaign strategy. What is your message? How are you going to get your message across to the general population, and how are you going to inspire people to help you? Networking and team building, what we're all doing right now, we're networking. Your website development, your profile and video, and then finally, how are you going to fulfill on the rewards? Once you have the money, you have to fulfill on your promises, and oftentimes manufacturing clients don't take into account the many costs of prototyping and manufacturing and all those things. All right, so just to give you a brief overview, so donation crowdfunding is literally just straight donations. It's just taking donations through the internet. This isn't so much new because major nonprofit organizations have their own portals, they raise money online. What is new though is this is being used by people in distress. If a natural disaster occurs, someone can just kind of like go online within a week's notice and say, my house just burned down and we lost everything, can you help us? In fact, if any of you have seen my website prior to coming here, it's a terrible website. We hired a web developer and a week later her house did burn down. And so it's been 3 months, we're still working with her because we understand it's a tough situation. But she went on GoFundMe, which I didn't show you here. She went on there, put a website up, she had a lot of social capital, a lot of relationships. Within a week she raised $10,000 from her friends and family. So like a personal example of how she used crowdfunding, and she heard about it through us, so it's great to see it actually happen for her. So you know, you want to have a compelling story, highly dependent on social capital and relationships, and of course if you have social media and PR working for you, it's going to amplify your fundraising efforts. YouCaring.com, by the way, I believe they just raised over 100 million, and the amazing thing about them, I don't know what their business model is, but they don't charge any fees, like a percentage of the raise. They're free. So like anyone can go on, and all the money that's raised by the donor is kept. So I'm not sure how they stay in business. I mean, they're doing something. But this is what we all know as the Kickstarter and Indiegogo model. Donation in exchange for reward. Kickstarter is unique because they are an all or nothing platform, and they don't allow any other way. So let's say you have a fundraising goal of $100,000. If you raise $90,999, you will not get any of the money, and it'll be all returned to the contributors on Kickstarter. Obviously, you're going to pitch in $1 to get that goal to happen. I mean, you know, you'll find a way, but in other words, if you don't raise it all, you're not going to get it. Indiegogo, however, you could choose to do that same all or nothing model, but they also have what is known as flexible funding, which is keep what you raise. The difference here is, if you don't reach your goal on Indiegogo, when you do keep what you raise, they double the amount of money they take as a percentage. So like I believe they're only 5% of what you raise, but let's say you only raise like half of the amount, they're going to charge you 10% of the half of the amount that you raised. So they kind of penalize you if you don't hit the goal. Social media and PR is extremely important, but what most people don't realize is the majority of the successes on Kickstarter and Indiegogo are driven by the project creator, meaning the people running the projects have to rely on their traditional networks to get them the initial burst of funding. This is why the whole purpose of 3 to 6 months of planning in advance is to get you to reach 30% of your funding goal within the first week of the campaign. Why is 30% of funding within the first week critical? If you're using these huge sites like Indiegogo and Kickstarter, I think they're both in the top 1,000 Alexa rankings for website views, right? So they're like highly trafficked websites. There's thousands of projects, however, that are on these sites. So how do you get noticed? You get noticed by having a lot of traction in the first week, 30% of funding, and that usually will trigger the algorithm to get you on the front page of Kickstarter and Indiegogo. That's what we help people do. Get to 30% so you can get on the front page, and then people who don't know you, the herd mentality, will come in and say, there's traction, this person looks credible. I'm gonna take a look at it now. Now I'll, you know, they have a good video, they have a good product, they have a good profile, I'll support them. PR people will not write about you unless you do have 30% of your funding, because they don't want to just write about a loser, right? I mean, no one's a loser, I don't mean to be like that, but no one wants to write about a project that doesn't have traction. So as soon as you hit that 2, your pitch to PR people and bloggers and journalists is that much easier, because they see the traction and then they write about it and they link directly to your fundraising page. So all their eyes from their viewership now are funneling to your page. So that's a huge opportunity. Now this is where I believe many of you in this audience are really excited about, which is the equity crowdfunding coming through. How many of you in this audience are angels or VCs? How many of you feel threatened from crowdfunding your business models? Okay, good. I'm glad you guys are forward thinking. Just a quick thing.
It's not a threat, it's an opportunity.
Absolutely. Think of it this way: if you're an angel or a VC, the risk is being shifted. If you look at your angel or VC model right now, you probably turn away 90% of the people come to you, even more, right? 90+%. Imagine if you had another option for them in your business model that said, you know, right now I just don't see it, but if you could prove it to me, I will help you with some certain resources to go through this crowdfunding process. If you prove to me that your concept works on these things and you do the hard work, then, all right, I can see there's a consumer demand for what you got. So I'm not just going to throw you away anymore. I'm going to foster your growth to help you, and if you prove it to me, then let's talk. It'll make, VCs will become the most loved people in the world when that happens, you know?